direction of the programs and accepted responsibility for their actions or inactions. My agenda, you live with the people. My agenda, you live with the world.
Lovely day to you out there, and thanks for joining us on another edition of My Agenda. My name is Ademola Adeleke, and if you are just joining us for the first time on the program, this is a platform where we bring to you people of Cuba and Caribbean wealth working that have made name for themselves in society. And this afternoon, I have with me in the studio the Ekiti State Commissioner for Innovation, Science and Technology, who shall be sharing what he has been able to do in the ministry that he was appointed to supervise by Mr. Governor. His agenda in the ministry, he will be sharing it with us this afternoon. So I have with me Honorable Seun Fakuade. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us on the
program. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me.
We are happy to have you right in our studio with us.
Thank you.
Alright, before we go to your ministry where you hold sway, let's start with who is Honorable Seun Fakuade.
My name is Seun Fakuade. I'm from Ekiti State, Nigeria. I have a background in public administration, and of course my first degree is in microbiology. I serve and work with Mr. Governor, His Excellency Governor Banji, as Commissioner for Innovation, Science and Digital Economy. What else would you like to know?
We would still like to know more before becoming the commissioner. How has it been? Do you have the intention of becoming a former commissioner?
I'm not sure about people have the intention of becoming commissioners.
But are you a politician for them?
I worked in the state before that.
Okay.
I was working with Governor Kade Fahimi during his second term in office. I was senior special assistant on policy research and documentation. Okay. And when Mr. Governor Banji's Excellency came in, he appointed me as special advisor on governance, reforms, and innovation before I was made a commissioner for innovation.
Okay. I'm going to not be out of place to go straight to your ministry because I know you've covered a lot of ground in this aspect. We have three agency, we have agency now, three critical sector under this. We have innovation, we have science, and we have digital economy. So let's start one after the other. Let's start with innovation. What is this all about? The innovation, what is it all about?
So the governor is a man of foresight, and initially when we were special advisors, I was also superintending over the different departments: governance, reforms, innovation. The intention is, I think, would say bifocal. One is on the public sector, and of course one is on the private sector. And for Mr. Governor, all of the different ideas, technological innovations that can improve the way we do things as a people, as a government, as a people, as citizens, as business owners or entrepreneurs, or as government is intention. And more importantly is that Mr. Governor believes that there is no way we can say we are a state that constantly is at the forefront of education or the forefront of knowledge economies, and we ourselves are not championing those knowledge economies or innovation. And so when Mr. Governor set up the department, the special advisor position for me, the intention was to ensure that we start reforming all that we were doing as a government and then as a people. Of course, after a period of time, Mr. Governor created the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Digital Economy. This was a pioneer ministry. It was not in existence before that time. And the objective of the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Digital Economy is to start to fast track the state's ambition in becoming a foremost center for knowledge aspiration, for knowledge economy and development, as well as ensuring that in the state we do have pockets of innovating entities that are advancing development, that are advancing economic growth, and of course thriving and being successful in Ekiti. So innovation, of course, looks at every aspect of the economy. It is very agnostic. It does not depend on, it is not looking at maybe agriculture, leaving creative economy aside. It cuts across every aspect of the economy. What are the things that people are doing or people can do that can improve their lives, that can improve the welfare of the people, that can create jobs, and of course that can ensure that there are new ideas that are springing up, that are turning to businesses and are bettering the lives of people. So that's innovation. For science, of course.
Before we go to science, I know you have a lot to tell us. I know, but before we go to science, innovation now, you've been at the head of this office for like 3.5 years.
No, 2 years.
2 years, okay?
2 years, 2 years, 1 month.
Okay, 2 years, 1 month. So in this space of 24 or 25 months, how would you say the innovation has really come into fruition in this? What has been the innovation under your supervision?
Okay, so the innovation takes, it's not a short or mid-term sprint. It's really a long time if you look at it. We are fortunate to have gotten the support that we have from the leadership, the state governor, and of course the government that he superintends over, because one, of course, he was the visionary, he was the one who got the vision and who set up the ministry, and because it believes wholeheartedly in what we're doing. For the long term is that Ekiti will be a place where you want to do anything in terms of digital correspondence, for instance, with bureaucracy. You don't need to come to Ekiti to get it done. You want to apply for a land, you want to get your certificate of occupancy, you want to apply for anything, right? You don't need to come to Ekiti. Anywhere you are in the world, as it obtains across the world, you can get those things done, right? And so in terms of public sector innovation, in terms of private sector innovation, Mr. Governor has given us his support. And I'll mention maybe 2 or 3 things. First and foremost is that we've been able to put together the ecosystem in terms of his organization. Because before, people were doing different innovation, enterprising activities across their universities in pockets and silos. So we've been able to bring together as much as possible people who are doing one thing or the other in their different spaces or areas of expertise. Second thing is for over 11 years, there was the Ekiti ICT policy, which allows you to understand where government was heading, what government wants to do was not in place. So we put together, and the State Executive Council approved the Ekiti State Innovation ICT policy. Of course, that now has, we've ensured that it is concurrent with what's happening in the world. We've put in new policies on artificial intelligence, robotics, and new future of work skills inside that ICT policy. But more beyond that, more beyond organizing the ecosystem, more beyond setting up the ICT policy, which is the soft infrastructure that will let this run, the state government right now is working on ensuring that the state has fiber optics across the state. Mr. Governor is very clear about ensuring that if you have any idea, if you sell anything, if you're a YouTuber, if you're someone who does content creation, you don't need to actually be barred or handicapped by the ability for you to be able to sell your wares online or do any of your businesses online. The concept of remote work is now prominent everywhere. You can be anywhere in the world and you're selling your wares and you're doing your business and you're even working remotely. Mr. Governor believes that we have all the competitive edge as Ekiti people to be able to stay here, work here, and contribute meaningful to life here. But beyond that,
So the fiber optics, is it working now?
no.
Okay.
We're having a series of conversations with ISP owners, right? On, of course, the favorite competitive pricing and the procurement process that will allow us to then begin to make this happen. This is also not disconnected from the Ekiti Knowledge Zone, which I will come to at a much later time. Then, Mr. Governor, of course, online we've been able to kickstart some initiatives that provide support for our young people. We've also worked with the UK government, the UNDP, to secure grants for our young people. In fact, in our recent report, we have from over 12 people that we've supported in their tangible products and programs or startups, 2 have now become national and international by the grace of God, and with the support that this government has provided for them with the UK government. One of them actually is coming back to see me on Friday to tell me about where he is and what he's doing and what government needs to continue to do to support their business. Again, this is why I said to you, innovation is long term, right?
It has to do with youth per se.
Not youth. You can be 90 years old and have innovative ideas and you're able to support and provide support for that. Innovation is not age restricted, it's not sector restricted, it's completely agnostic. It doesn't care if you're a carpenter, if you're a plumber, if you're a vulcanizer. If you have ideas that are supportable, if you have ideas that are viable, that are scalable, that we're going to put our resources behind it, either technical resource or financial resource.
Okay, probably I'm having that notion because it has to do with intelligence and being ICT compliant.
Every human is intelligent.
Yes, we understand, but you can't relate our youth to be intelligent with how aged people are conversant with ICT. That's what I'm trying to say. Yes, when you were talking, you talked about artificial intelligence and robotics, whatever. I was there some time ago. I think Mr. Governor commissioned some artificial intelligence at that yes, and I think it was part of this robotic and intelligence, artificial intelligence together. Now, how far would this the commission again, and how far would the progress?
Okay, thank you very much. So the Startup Garage is Nigeria's first public sector-led makerspace. There's no state in this country before now that has been able to set up such kind of initiative. And again, this speaks to the leadership that we have in the Ekiti state. the startup garage is meant to be a place where, just like we're discussing right now, if you are a 70-year-old man and you have an idea on which you want to start sending electric energy, all right, to someone via your mobile phone, it's where you can go to and find people who probably will listen to your idea and can help you bring that idea to life. It's a place where you can go to and you have the idea of now using, let's say, bitumen as your new shoe sole, right? It's a place you can go to test your ideas, because the equipment that Mr. Governor procured there allows you to test ideas that can work or cannot work. Which is why I said to you, innovation is not age restricted. You can be 65-year-old and you're just retired, and all you want to do is just come and test your ideas. Sound out your ideas. It doesn't mean that when you get there, they will start pushing your ideas on the table, but people will listen to you and see if it's viable or not. So the startup garage was set up, and then we started having people come in there to iterate their products.
So we are having people coming there?
Oh yes, it still works to now. We have 3D printers there, we have robotic kits there that allows you to test your ideas and see if your ideas are viable. Some of the ones that we refer to Lagos, for instance, private sector locations in Lagos, are ones that we don't have the equipment there to satisfy, right? You need some advanced machinery. And I will come very quickly to that thought. The startup garage now that's in the city center, Mr. Governor is now building a permanent location in the secretariat with the support of the UNDP. Mr. Governor,
Secretariat along Back Road?
Yes. Okay. We're setting up a very expansive facility there that allows every citizen and resident of Ekiti to go there and test their ideas, to go there and work, to go there and mingle with people with like minds and be able to test their ideas and bring their ideas to life. We're hopeful that by the end of this year it will be ready and good to go. And the United Nations, the UNDP, is supporting us with more than $800,000 worth of equipment. Some of them we've already received, is in our care, and some of them have not come because the place is not ready. But this again lends credence to what I was explaining. If you go across Ekiti State, our young people, and the same thing can be said throughout Nigeria, our young people are bustling with ideas, right? If you go to XU, go to Foye, go to Westy, go to Abuad, go to College of Health Ijero, right? You will find our young people bustling with ideas, but a lot of them are incapacitated. Not just with finances, because finances is not everything, right? With even how do I bring this idea in my head to life? And that's why the startup garage is set up. I'm very optimistic that it's not going to be the only one that's going to be set up in Ekiti State. My hope, and of course following the vision of the governor, is that across our enterprising institutions, in all the institutions of learning that we have, we'll have pods and hubs and centers of learning where ideas can be tested. So that is where we are with the startup garage. It's fully functioning, but of course it's being expanded now to become something permanent.
All right, thank you very much for that information. Before we go ahead on the program, we have to take a quick break. If I just join us, the program is My Agenda, and we have in the studio the Commissioner for Innovation, Science and Technology, and Science and Data Economy in Ekiti State, Honorable Seun Fakuade. Don't go away, we'll be right back after this time out.
Hi, my name is Odumola Olabinto. I'm a medical doctor and also the founder of the LCT. The LCT is a social enterprise that provides preventive health information for adolescents and young people. And via Ask the Doc, we run a telemedicine platform where young people can chat with a doctor for about 1,000 naira. This business journey has been exciting. It's full of challenges, right? Running a startup is not an easy endeavor, but it's one that is a journey that I'm excited to be embarking on alongside my co-founders and my team members, because beyond being profitable, our goal is to impact as many lives as possible, and that's what we've been doing. So despite the challenges and running a business being daunting is, well, I wake up every day with joy in my heart because it's supporting the work that I and my team do, and it's a validation of the work we've done so far too. So it was amazing. Well, our business is based in Ekiti. This is where we started from. Well, we've been expanding to Lagos over the past couple of months, but we started off in Ekiti. And of course, one of the projects that we intend to do, physical events, pop-up shops in universities, we do intend to start with Ekiti State University, where I also graduated from. So our business is homegrown. We are looking for our target audience. They are here as well as in other states, but we're in the business from Ekiti to the world, if you will. Well, like I said when I was speaking, the funding is going to go into product development. We are currently running our platform as a web-based platform. We like to turn it into a full-blown app, and it's going to go into marketing. The product is up ready. It's going to be like much more better than it is now, but we do have a functioning prototype. So we like to market our products to as many and many people as possible. So a good number of that funds to go into marketing and also staffing. We need more hands to ensure that we achieve this our goal, and so part of the money is also going to go into staffing. I would like to thank the Innovate Ekiti team, most especially Mr. Joshua, who has been with us every step of the way, and huge thanks to Badia, who has been a huge part of making the trainings that happened before and the speech competition and the fun possible. I would like to thank them especially not just for the funds, but also for the trainings that they have provided before we got to the funds. Training, they've helped us, they've connected us with mentors. I mean, they have gone all out to ensure that our businesses are successful. So huge thanks to the Innovate Ekiti team. Thank you. And also huge thanks to the
a live program designed for those holding position of authority and trust for the people. Rolling out new programs, given blow-by-blow account of implementation.
Alright, you're welcome back, and the lady you just watched is Miss Olabinto Ojola, who won £2,500, and I think the commissioner will be able to say more on this lady. Commissioner, what happened just right there? Because I know it's a testimonial from that lady. So what happened? Shed more light on it.
So Ojola is one of the young innovators in Ekiti State who won. She won the first prize in the first Young Innovators program when we came to government. When I came to office, we were working also with the UK government, the innovation entity of the UK government, to bring this to life. And what she worked on was a product that allows it's a telemedicine product, right? That allows young people who don't want to go to doctors to speak about adult reproductive health because of different factors, cultural, shyness, privacy, all that. The project was very, very laudable, and of course went through rigorous panel from the UK government, from the state government, and the independent assessors that were brought to play. They also went through what we call the incubation program, wherein after you've submitted your idea, you're not subjected to serious, rigorous period of exercise and training and capacity building to make sure that your ideas are properly situated in the context that should be situated, especially benchmarking with what happens across the world. And interestingly is too that Mr. Governor has launched the third edition of that program. It's expanded now. It's called the Innovation Enterprise Support Fund. And again, it is not for young people alone. It's for every citizen and resident of Ekiti State. Young, old, female, male. In fact, there is a quota for females that's about 40%, that ensures that our young people who are females are not cut out of whatever is tagged innovation or support for innovators or entrepreneurs that the state is providing money for and resources for. It's not just money and resources, it's also training, capacity building, technical experience that's going to be at play. We are also very lucky that the First Bank is planning to support us in ensuring that the incubation process and the funding process is expanded for the people of Ekiti. So if you're listening to me today, please avail yourself the opportunity. Go online to www.iesf.gov.ekitistategov.ng and please apply for the Innovation Enterprise Support Fund. so that your ideas can become supported, no matter how small or little they are. And I will say to you, in terms of the big picture, the Ekiti Knowledge Zone has a bigger pool of resources when that program starts, of around $5 million that is devoted to supporting ideas, ideators, innovators, startups in Ekiti State to either start their business or accelerate their businesses. So that's what Odiola did, and that's how we provided support for her. She's one of the very, very people that we provided support for through the government of Ekiti State.
Okay, before we move away from this, Odiola, you mentioned
ekiti.gov.ng.
Okay, I'm trying to see .gov.ng to see what to practicalize the side I just mentioned for Ekiti people to know what we are trying to talk about. We're still trying to connect. So to a layman now, because I understand the explanation so far about the grant one. I think it's a grant won by the prize won by Ms. Olabinto.
Yes.
But to a layman, I want you to break it down. What has Olabinto done to warrant these $2,500? To a layman. I know you said we talk about telemedicine. So I want our people to know. A layman watching you. What has Olabinto done?
So the UK government, which we worked with, which the state government worked with, has selection criteria that allows you to pre-qualify for getting the fund. And the selection criteria, of course, also plays a lot of relevance to what the state wants, right? There are things you have to satisfy if you have to get funded by the government, either Ekiti State or any government whatsoever, right? One of them, for instance, for this IESF that I'm explaining to you, is that you have to be a citizen of Ekiti State, either living in Ekiti or not, or a resident of Ekiti State. Because the ultimate agenda is that when you are properly resourced and funded by Ekiti State government, the economy should feel the impact. The project should have a life. There should be job creation. There should be tax that you're paying.
I want to ask if what Olabinto has done,
Olabinto employ people in Ekiti State. Okay. Yes. Olabinto has a team. The last I recollect has almost 6 people that's working with her. In fact, she's now a doctoral student at the Johns Hopkins University in the US, and I know that she's going to be exposed to a lot of more funds and grants beyond here. But we are happy and proud that she started here, because the product that she had, that she started with, has now taken her in leaps and bounds abroad. Right?
A product that we can access?
Yes, it's a product we can access. I'm going to share the name with you before I leave here. But the essence is, if you have an idea in Ekiti State that can solve local problems or even international problems, because some ideas are so much so that it's not our problem here, it's a national problem or a global problem, right? The state is able and ready to support it so long as it satisfies the prerequisite of the state. Number one, are you a citizen of Ekiti State, or are you residing in Ekiti State? Because you must be able to have bearing to Ekiti State and the government. 2, does it solve a problem for us or our people? Does it advance the course of the economy? Because when you employ someone, right, even if it's one person, the ripple effect is that now, before I couldn't feed my family, but now I get an employment. Now I can feed my family. Now I can pay tax, right? So as you are employing people, you are increasing the size of the tax bucket, and you're also making life livable for people. Because if you are providing a solution, for instance, to solve economic challenges or environmental challenges in Ekiti, you are solving the problem of pollution, you are creating jobs, you are paying tax, right? So there are criteria that were selected for all the people that were shortlisted for those programs.
Okay, I think I get that website correctly, because I'm trying to load. It's not loading.
It's also not loading yet. I think it's the internet in the studio.
Okay. Next thing we can get it. Okay, our youth can access it.
Oh yes, we have 401 applications so far in 4 days.
Okay, that means they just launched the website.
Yes, it was launched on the 1st of April.
1st of April, and in just 4 days, around 400 applications. Already, without much publicity of it.
We've done publicity, we've not done enough, yes.
Okay, yes, okay. It's a good one. All right, let's gradually we are moving on. Let's move to the science aspect of your ministry now. How far with this sector?
So science is, of course, we know the importance of science in
Let's put together with digital economy so we can just explain.
Okay, science advancement is something that we're working with the Ministry of Education on. Because it's not just restricted to what the innovators are doing in the different hubs or laboratories. Of course, part of the science aspiration is what you saw at the startup garage. The young people who brought in VRSS that were doing tourism program, the people that were trying to solve the challenge of traffic congestion from XU, the young persons doing environmental sanitation from ABWAD. These are all scientific applications that are following basic foundational understanding of science in schools from primary to secondary. What we're working in, for instance, with the Ministry of Education is how do we incorporate new ideas and new technologies or even new thinking in curriculum in our schools in Ekiti State, right? The world has left Nigeria behind, unfortunately, in terms of the status of curriculum or what we call the embedded autonomy for economies. The meaning is, what we used to learn as education, right, or learning, the world has moved so rapidly that we need to catch up with them. Today, most of the people that we have that we're turning out as graduates in Nigeria are not fit for the global economy because what they are being taught is no longer relevant in the global economy. So we are working with the Ministry of Education today are programs that we can mainstream. What are the future of work skills that our citizens need? What are the new advancements in technology ideas, in science ideas that we need to incorporate in our curriculum that makes our own citizens better than any other state in Nigeria? And so that's what we're working on, because you cannot go and start saying you want to build a 5-story building in an environment where it does not support, the soil does not support that kind of structure. You can't say you want to procure new technological materials. Mr. Governor, the state has enough resources to produce and procure enough robotic kits. But the reason we started the startup garage is to serve as a pilot. What is the interest of people? What is their reception? How are they taking this new knowledge before we then expand further so that we know where the failures are and how to adjust appropriately. And so that's what we're doing with our scientific learning. We also have something called that we're working on with some private sector in Ekiti State called the Learning Portal for Ekiti people. What does that mean? It should not be a problem anymore that you are in Ekiti State as a student and you cannot go online and learn what someone in Finland is learning if we have the resources online, right? And so part of what we're working on is to ensure that our people, our citizens in Ekiti State are concurrent and can get those skills even if they don't have the instruments or infrastructure right now to do it. And what is also interesting is that there's a STEAM boot camp that's going to happen in a week or so.
Yes, I was wondering about that. Okay, right.
The governor has provided us resources to
about children, right?
Okay, exactly. Okay. So these are all the enticing, letting our children understand the world has moved further and we need to make sure we catch up with the world, right? And so we incorporate those things there. Let me go to digital economy because there's a lot actually I can say on science, but I don't want to spend too much time on that question. Okay. For digital economy, what I explained earlier on, in fiber optics, for instance, is how you can advance the digital economy space for Ekiti. We don't go so is someone I usually make reference to as much as possible, right? Is someone who is a comic, is someone who is an entertainer, and there are thousands of those people today in Nigeria. If we create an environment where our people can do their business in Ekiti State without having to leave Ekiti and make money and pay government his own revenue, that's tax. They don't need to go further, right? So the digital economy is how all these beautiful programs then make their own space to the digital space for e-commerce, trade activities. So that you are sitting in your house, you are are doing a skit comedy in your living room and money is dropping your account because people are watching it and Google is paying you money from YouTube, from TikTok and all of the different platforms where you can make money. But can they do that if you don't have internet facility or interconnection or a space where they can even shoot these kind of things, right?
Yeah.
That is the sphere of digital economy. All of this is supported by the State Innovation Policy document, which allows all the different interventions that needs to be made to encourage people to make it happen. All over the world, governments try as much as possible to make life easy for its citizens and businesses. Because when you don't have this ease of doing business, much more better for them. They will leave and go to another place and go and do their business or live there.
Sure. All right, the program is still my agenda, and our guest this afternoon is the Commissioner for Innovation, Science and Digital Economy, Honorable Seun Fakuade, and you can be part of the conversation. We have the number on your screen to send us messages, and we ask the Commissioner as appropriate. Honorable Commissioner, you talked about startup garage, you talked about bootcamp for children, so let's take it one after the other. This startup garage, you said people have been coming. Yes, people are there right now. To access this startup garage, what does it require? Do I need to be a literate person? Do I need a certificate? Do I what age? Do I need to be a graduate? What do I need to access that? Just idea? Is that all?
Yes. You are a citizen of Ekiti, you are a resident of Ekiti State. You need a space to work. You need a space to test your ideas. You need a space to meet people that can listen to your ideas. I don't need to be literate. You don't need to be. Like I said, innovation does not have to do with if you are educated or not. It has to do with, do you have ideas that are marketable? Does it have a market? Is it viable? Can it work? Right? Someone can sit here without going to any school and say, the way we are doing this collection of refuse is wrong. Let us approach it this way. If that idea works, that's innovation. It doesn't have to do with, there's a level of improvement in innovating ideas that comes with education. No doubt. I'm not disputing it, right? There are levels of exposure you have in the world where, because you're exposed to new cultures, new economies, new persons from different countries, the ideas are richer. Yes, exactly. Things, yeah. But there is no restriction, there's no cap on how people can think about ideas. People have thought about ideas in their homes, and unfortunately it's because they've not had the resources or the person that they can share with to help improve that has made it work. So the startup garage is open to every Ekiti citizen or resident. In fact, visitors, because it's not only citizens and residents that come to the startup garage to use there. Our visitors from outside the state have come there to work before. It's a place that is conducive, that is meant to be for every user for Ekiti State, so long as you're not disrupting or destroying the place.
All right, thank you for that information, Honorable Commissioner. We'll come back to Lenny Potter and this boot camp after this break. We'll be right back.
Agenda, a live program designed for those holding positions of authority and trust for the people. Rolling out in programs, given goal.
My name is Yomi Adetunji. My project and business is RISE, which is an acronym for Rice Inventory, Storage and Exchange. RISE is an agri-warehouse startup with the aim to facilitate trade between rice processors and farmers, and also and I know that from here on we have been rewarded for the hard work we have put in place, and the reward for hard work is more hard work. Right now we need to show something with our pilot project with the fund that we have received. Personally, I own a business in Ekiti State, and I've been in Ekiti State for a while. Our pilot project is going to start in Ekiti State. So over the next 3-4 years, 5 years, we're still going to be running projects in Ekiti State. So Ekiti State has given us the foundation and something to build on. So definitely we are resident here, and the project we are working on also will impact positively the lives of rural farmers in Ekiti State, and by extension their children, their families also, and also by extension.
A live program designed for those holding position for authority, interest for the people. Rolling out in numbers, given blow-by-blow account of implementation of the programs, and accepting responsibility for their actions or inactions. My agenda, you live with the people.
Alright, you're welcome back, and the program is My Agenda, and I have in the studio with me the Honorable Commissioner for Innovation, Science and Digital Economy in Ekiti State, Honorable Seun Fakuade. Before we went on that break, he gave us a website that youth is either there that you can connect to access fund, and that you can use to improve your own economy before you improve that of Ekiti State. And the website, according to him, and which I've tried, and it has entered, it has opened a page now showing Innovation Enterprise Support Fund. You can also log on to the website www.iesf.ekitistate.gov.ng. And you've not missed, if I just joined us, we are still on the program. And like I said, I have the Commissioner for Innovation, Science and Digital Economy in the studio with me. Before we went on that break, we were to talk about learning portal for Ekiti people, and particularly about this, where did I put it? This boot camp for children under the age of 8 to 16, if I'm getting it right, because I saw the flyer. So now that our children are in the holidays, and this boot camp, what are the children? What are they be exposing to? As in, what will be the focus of this boot camp for the children?
Thank you very much. This is the second edition of the boot camp. The first edition held last year, and the exposure, Mr. Governor procured millions of naira of equipment for our young people. Like I said, it's part of the startup garage, but it's also part of what we're using to introduce and expose our young people. The boot camp that we had last year exposed our children to a lot of information, and also it's hands-on, it's practical, right? Last year, for instance, we are grateful to God, we also had Nigeria's first public sector-led robotic academy. In industries, in manufacturing industries, what they use today are not your hands. I mean, they still use hands in some assembly or putting things together, but a lot of what they do are the robotic gears, the industry-grade robotic gears. And so we've procured miniature ones at their level that they can use to put things together, and that's what they did all of last year during the boot camp. It's not the only thing. We brought in facilitators who exposed them to what they were doing as industry leaders in the different fields. The point is, we don't really have much exposure for our young people in Nigeria where they can aspire to be something. I remember when I was growing up, I wanted to be a civil engineer, I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be all manners of things without the proper guidance or counseling that came with it. What we're doing in Ekiti State is how to properly guide our children on their career path so that they can be properly, laser focused on those paths. So the second boot camp this year is targeting the same group of people, but introducing them to what is called the creative economy. A lot of people think that creative economy is just be doing comedy or doing
Commissioner, sorry, before you go ahead, is this one that you want to have now, is it a continuation of the last one? I'm talking about if a child missed that of the last one, would that person be missing getting involved in this second one?
No. Like I said, it's not that the same people who did last year is going to be the one.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
There are different streams.
Okay.
Again, it's exposure.
Okay.
And the fact that you are not part of the first boot camp, if you have the opportunity to go to the startup garage, what you think you missed, you would gain it there.
Okay.
Because there are students who have been going to the startup garage because of that event, who have now gone to learn. Right? So it's not, again, even when this one concludes and you don't make it, it does not mean that now that you have missed this second edition, you are going to miss for life, because again, we are buying equipment that will allow you to learn. And one of the equipment is a virtual reality headset. Right? Today, like I was explaining, a creative economy intersperses other things. Do you know animation, sir?
Animation, yeah.
Animation is not creative economy. Okay. We are programming how a mouse moves, like Tom and Jerry, All those things are under the creative economy, right? And how do our citizens here in Ekiti, how can they be exposed to those skill sets? So that when they learn it, if they go abroad, even if they don't go abroad, they have the skill set to work right here, right? And be employed by all the studios, Paramount, Warner Brothers, that are employing people to do the same thing that they are doing abroad. So the virtual reality headset, you can sit here in your house and put a virtual reality headset in your head and you'll be in Japan. Because what you're seeing and experiencing is very massive. You would actually feel that you're actually in that location. So what we're trying to expose our kids to, one, is the experience. Two, is the skills that allow you to do that thing, right? That makes you a professional, a competent person, or start having interest in doing it. My first business, I was 18 years old. And I did not have any exposure to anything. Now imagine I had exposure when I was 12 or 13. I would have started my business at 14 or 15. Because if the idea is there and I have the skill set, what am I waiting for, right? I learned CorelDRAW by staying late in my friend's house in Elisha. I would stay 2 a.m. when he's asleep. I would turn on his computer. I would start learning CorelDRAW. Now imagine you have a startup garage where you have equipment. You have people ready to teach you. The world is your marketplace. You can do anything you want. The bottom line is Mr. Governor believes that every child in Ekiti will not and should not have any restriction in becoming whoever they choose to be. Look, if your child wants to be a carpenter, he must be a first-class carpenter. He must know the skills that any carpenter in Houston or Australia knows. He must have the wherewithal to be able to do those things. The remaining could now be resources. But you would actually be able to fund someone who already have the skill than someone who is just saying he wants to learn. And that's the whole point of education that we know. So the boot camp is intended for, again, introducing these skills to these things. And I know that in 3, 4, 5 years down the line, the hope is that all schools in Ekiti State would have the same equipment, the same quality of skills that allows them to be competitive globally. My bet for Ekiti's future, following Mr. Governor's vision, is that in 10 years, if you bring your child to Ekiti, your child can stand anywhere in the world with the kind of skills that they have. Because the future of work that we know today is not what we knew last year or 10 years ago. And that's why we have to always be improving how we teach our young people. So that competitiveness, that edge is what Mr. Governor looks at in terms of how we grow and advance our state of things.
So how can a child assess this boot camp?
Also, the boot camp is the selection process is between the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Innovation, right? Again, it's not possible that we're going to accommodate a lot of people. I know that the number is not even up to 250 because of space, because of resources. But the point is that we will be tireless in ensuring that every child gets an opportunity. And of course, we're preparing our report by the end of May to Mr. Governor on the first year and the second year boot camp to make him see what we've been able to do, the interest, the excitement, and the things that we propose to him to how to expand it across the state. Let me cap up on this. Imagine that every local government in Ekiti has a digital learning spot, a hub, where these equipment are. The child finishes, gets to home, sleeps, do his assignment. If he can't go there Monday to Friday, Saturday, you can take him there, drop him there, just for him to immerse himself. He doesn't even need to know how to do anything. seeing people put Google in their head or solder things or manufacture things using 3D printing, a lot is inspiring, right? And that is the goal, that our children don't have to go anywhere in the world. They can stay and learn and be a useful member of society.
Before I go to this innovation summit, I want to know the boot camp held last year. You have like how many children there?
I think, if I'm very correct, we have more than 250.
More than 250. Okay.
Children there.
Out of these 250 children, do you have outstanding that really captured with
yes.
that were, like, what's the number like?
I know that we had in the national robotic competition that happened in Nigeria. I know citizen, I think Shepherd Hill came first. I would correct, I would confirm, but I know we have schools who, because of the interest and the things that started happening from the summit to the boot camp, went to represent Ekiti. I also know that there are 4 kids now. One of them is Emmanuel. Yes, one of them is Emmanuel. Emmanuel is someone that I'm praying that you bring on this program.
Okay.
Yes, Emmanuel does IoTs now. He can say, studio, light off, light will go off, right? Yes, today, right? And is someone, okay, is left his OND, but you know, my excitement is that the interest, things that he never experienced before, that he didn't have access to, he had access to it from the bootcamp. Then came to the ESG, and then I brought in people from Ikole campus of Foye to now come and upskill what he already knows. And today he's doing well, right? I'm also hoping that he's applying for the IESF, because I'm praying that he applies, because there is no back channel here. He's not like, commissioner or governor. The governor cannot send the ministry a list. You have to apply on the website. So if he applies, my definite hope is that he gets support from the state, because he's doing well in his own. And what I'm telling you is what the speaking devices that you use today in your mobile phone, you know, in TV devices, in cars, electric vehicles, you are having command prompt, and he's already doing it. Here in Ekiti, he can turn the AC of this place off, right? Because he already understands the ecosystem of IoTs. So I know there are success stories. In fact, I don't want to go to summit ahead of time, but there are
we don't have more time. Let's move to summit.
Summit, for instance, gave birth to a lot of innovators. In fact, there are more than 10 people who got support from our friends and speakers that we brought in to Ekiti State to come and inspire people. You know, people like Adebayo, Favor Adebayo, people like Banji Akole, people like the young man that was bringing up CNC machines, cutting CNC here in Ekiti State, that we didn't even know existed until the summit started happening. So the summit has been a really eye opener, because it exposed our young people to all manners of persons who are doing stuff abroad, or people who are abroad who came back here to even see what our young people are doing. The other thing is that because of the Innovation Summit, we had an attraction from Houston. One of Ekiti citizens came back and then started a hub in Adebayo here, right? And we're happy because, you know, it's not just a showcase, it's also allowing us the opportunity to allow our citizens to invest back home, and our citizens here to have exposure on what is going on in the global market space.
Okay, so because we have just like 2 minutes left, this Innovation Summit, when is it coming up, and how can prospective participants be part of it?
The Innovation Summit is open to all citizens and residents of Ekiti State. Of course, I know that we can't, the space that we have cannot take more than, it can't even take 10,000 people, but it's open for them. And the important thing again is that if you have ideas, there are people who are coming from Lagos, Abuja, the national ecosystem, to come and talk to us and see what we're doing. The whole idea is to come and speak to these people, speak your ideas to them, so we can see how you can, you know, have connections, like Banji Akole, who started an electric light metering product here in Ekiti, and now he's selling nationally, right? So all of these are part of what the governor says. We need to showcase the quality, the intelligence, the brilliance of our people, so that they can get resources, either from government and also from the private sector into Ekiti State. So the Ekiti State Innovation Summit will come up later this year, by God's grace. We're hoping that Mr. Governor, the gracious people of Ekiti State, will send Mr. Governor back to the government house, and so that we can continue to again advance this project. Let me conclude here. The development of any economy is not a short-term sprint, and that is the unfortunate thing that Nigeria has been cursed with. Because once a new government comes in, they then restart or cut short. If we're lucky by the grace of God, and we can have successive leadership, visionary leadership, I believe very strongly this is a state to watch out for in West Africa. Not Nigeria, West Africa.
All right, time is fast spent on the program. Let me, at this junction, thank our Honorable Commissioner for coming on the program. I know we still have a lot to talk about, but time will not permit us. And like the Commissioner just dropped the website, you can be part of this. If you have an idea, just log on to www.iesf.ekitistate.gov.ng. I hope I'm correct, Mr. Honorable Commissioner. Yeah. All right, Honorable Commissioner Seun Fakuade, let me thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
And that concludes the program this afternoon. Thank you very much. Let's pick our list.
Program designed for those holding positions of authority and trust for the people. Rolling out in programs, giving blow-by-blow account of implementation of the programs, and accepting responsibility for their actions or inactions.